High Velocity Wrestling is a professional wrestling promotion based in Western North Carolina. HVW's events provide a family atmosphere featuring old school pro wrestling with a modern day flair, giving a little something for everyone. Hey, what is up? Welcome to the HVW podcast, the official podcast for High Velocity Wrestling. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and we're here to give you the latest news and rumors surrounding the best pro wrestling promotion in the Carolinas, as well as exclusive interviews that you will only find here. Please remember to visit us online at highvelocitywrestling.com and follow us on all of our social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The links are available in the episode's description. You caught me reading it. I was reading the copy, folks. I've been busted. How's everybody doing tonight? This is Election Night 2020, and no, we're not going to talk politics. If you showed up to talk politics, you done showed up at the wrong place, because this is a pro wrestling podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark. What's going on? The director of social media for High Velocity Wrestling. We came to you live last week, myself and the owner, CEO, promoter of HVW, one Mr. Gary Benfield. We wanted to bring you the latest update about the company and let you know that, yes, we have an event on the horizon. We're pretty stoked about it. We can talk a little bit about that on this episode. We're also going to talk a little bit about one of our favorite topics, mine and Gary's both, something that's near and dear to both of our hearts, especially Gary, because it's actually how I met him to begin with, was this very topic of conversation today. And if you've read the headline of this episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to talk some tag team wrestling. I can't wait to get into it here. But before we go any farther, let's go ahead and let's throw up a couple of banners. Where are we? There we is. And before we go any farther from that, let's bring on the man of the hour, the man himself, the owner, promoter, CEO of 1HVW. It's Mr. Gary Benfield. What's up, Gary? How's it going, brother?
I thought you forgot me, Tom.
No chance, man.
I thought you forgot me.
I do so many shows, man. Sometimes it's a one-man show. Sometimes it's not.
You're becoming like the podcast, guru guy,
Hey, man, I got to keep myself busy, right?
That's right. So, I hear you, brother. I hear you.
So we're getting a few people tuning in right now. All right, can you still not see? Man, we got to get that figured out. I'll have to do a little research on that, find out why you can't see it. We are broadcasting right now to the HVW page on Facebook and the HVW YouTube channel. So to anybody watching the stream right now, we do appreciate you hanging out. I will promise to start putting comments up as soon as we get them. We've got one already. Let's see, from Ringsiders. Hello from Nevada, just visiting from California. These guys right here, man, they show up all the time, especially on Scott Larson's podcast. Big shout out to Scott Larson, by the way, who does the Hashtag Truth podcast. So there you go.
What's up, Scott?
We'll see. We got Derek.
What up, Derek?
D-Rock Middleton. In case you hear the background noise, Gary's mom is enjoying some television this fine evening. In fact, it was Family Feud, which we were joking about before we went live tonight. So there she is. Special guest on the show tonight. Yes, we were cracking wise about Family Feud. So
look, Judge is up.
Yes, sir.
Tom, I can see comments.
There you go. Great.
I can't, but I just can't see like how many people's watching or who's
on.
I
see. It's all good.
It's all good.
Judge is back.
Yes, he is.
What's up, Jeff? How's it going, man? Earl McKay, what's going on, my friend?
Mr. Naylor, how you doing, my friend?
So, listen, we're going to try our best to start doing this a little bit more in advance notice, because basically we just kind of get the idea and then just go live out of the blue. So that's what we're doing right now. So, anyway, we'll try in the future to try to give you a little bit more so you know what's coming. Man, don't tell me you're drinking out of a Broncos cup and wearing a Broncos hat.
Man, come on, you know.
Good heavens. And guess who showed up to the podcast?
Y'all, I see Crucifix on there.
Greek Wolverine.
What up?
Chris, listen, I know you and I are not the best of friends, but I want to thank you for the shout out you gave me on the main event. Very cool of you to do that. If Crucifix is nothing else, he is professional, and I will give him that. He is one of the best in the company by far. I've always said that. I'll always give him his props. So thank you, Chris, for the shout out. I appreciate it.
I taught him everything I know, and he just took it and made it a million times better.
I hear you. So Jeff said it best. We need wrestling and no political junk. I couldn't have said it better.
We're not talking no politics, brother.
No politics, baby. We're all here for the wrestling. That's what we want. That's what we want to talk about. That's what we're here for. So, I teased this when we went live, dude. This is how you and I met, was tag team wrestling. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You were in a tag team with a really good friend of mine who I grew up with, was friends with this guy for a lot of years. And you and him were the biggest tag team in that little promotion that we were running in Lenore, North Carolina. So tell the people about this. Yes, I absolutely. Yes. Tell everybody about this tag team. How many times did you guys have the belt? I mean, EOD, the whole nine.
Man, I don't even remember how many times we held the belt throughout the years, but man, you know, I broke into the business training with Judge, and Mike just happened to be it. He got to the show early one day and was hanging out, watching me train, watching me work out in the ring. And he asked me if I was interested in doing tag team wrestling. And I said, you know, I kind of thought about doing some tag team stuff at first just to kind of learn, you know, break in. I had a couple singles matches, you know, got my name out there. And then we run a little angle that put me and him together. And the EOD was born. The Elements of Darkness, baby. Viper and Steel in the house.
I miss that stuff, man. Those were some fun times. I remember the first time I saw you guys, and I've told the story a bunch, and I think I've told it on the show, that at the time I was not a writer online. I was just a fan. I had not been in a locker room. I hadn't done a podcast. There wasn't podcasting at that time. So all that stuff had yet to happen. So I was cynical about indie wrestling, what we called indie wrestling at that time. I was cynical, not because I thought ill of anybody. The only wrestling I'd ever known was the stuff I knew on TV. That included Jim Crockett Promotions. Even though I'd been to house shows, that was still big time Showtime wrestling to me. So when someone said independent promotions, I'm like, okay. The first time I went to UWA to see you guys, I was hooked. And I kept coming to the shows, and eventually I got, you know, not pulled in. I wanted to be part of it, but I was asked to come in, and I was like, sweet, let's do this. The first time I saw you two guys tagging together, man, I've told you this many times over the years, the dichotomy of you two. One guy's he's bald, he's got the goatee, he's got the do-rag, and he's tough, serious all the time. Then his partner, who's like the wild child, got the long hair, the sunglasses, smile on his face, devious, a devil. Dude, I thought it was perfect. I thought you guys just, I don't know what to compare it to. It was just like, it was kind of like the pit. It was like the big bulldog and the little bulldog that was following him around all the time.
Yeah,
it wasn't like a comedy act. Right. It wasn't like a comedy act like that. I don't mean it like that, but it was just like strong and silent, and then the rambunctious one who's ready to kill somebody. And I thought you guys looked and worked out great together.
Hey man, we just clicked. We had a vibe. You know, our gimmicks were very different, but I don't know. We connected. We had this vibe with each other, and it was just you know, we went out to the ring and just destroyed people, man, and it was so much fun.
I remember God, there was I've sat down and tried to remember how many guys we had in the EOD, and I think I get up to number 10 and kept counting. There were so many of us.
Yeah, we ended up like the NWO, start off with 3 and become 43.
Yeah, really.
Or the whole roster. And
you know, I can't, and I don't know if it was like this for you or not. I don't know. But for me, when I got into it, there's this perception that, wrestlers care about belts and they care about main events and they care. I mean, that's true. You know, that's true. I mean, there's some ego involved.
There are some.
I mean, there has to be ego involved. If you don't have an ego, you probably shouldn't be in this business. I mean, you got to believe you're the best. You got to want to be out there. You got to want your name in the lights, right? But with our group, I don't recall ever hearing a conversation between you or anybody else in the group saying, man, it sucks we didn't get main event. It sucks we didn't. I mean, very rarely did I ever hear anything like that. It was just about having fun, man. Right?
Dude, look, Tom, from day one, my mentality was when I walked through the curtain, I was the main event, whether it was the first match or the last match. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm there to put on a show. I don't care what order I am on the card. My goal is to make everybody that has to perform after me step up everything they've planned to do, because I'm going to put on a show.
That is very much a four horseman mentality, right?
Absolutely.
Like, people talk about Rick was the best of the four, but if you ask Rick that, Rick would say, no, I was just trying to keep up with the other three guys. It wasn't about who's better. It was about, let's go out there and kill it and have the best matches of the night. And I miss those days, man, big time.
Yeah, man. Hey, it was a lot of fun back then, Tom. But brother, I'll tell you something. If I knew half of what I know now about the indie wrestling business, I'd have stayed so far away, I'd have never got involved.
Well, now listen, since you're going there, let's go there. Knowing, like you said, knowing now what you know now, if you could jump back into that younger body, okay, don't we all wish we could do that? But if you could jump back into that Viper of the early 2000s and say, okay, I'm back, I'm here, I've time travel, whatever, all right, hypothetical, what would you do different, knowing what you know now?
I would have never became a promoter.
Really?
I would have just stuck to wrestling.
Wow. That's shocking. I didn't expect that. You caught me off guard with that one.
Dude, the minute I became a promoter is the minute all the just wrestling bull crap drama starts, man. And there's so much of that. And I don't want to water our podcast down with that, but
I get it.
It's out there, dude. And it's ridiculous. I should have just continued to wrestle, travel, who knows what I could have done. I mean, there was opportunities out there.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. But you know what? Now, I mean, hearing you say that now, I understand where you're coming from. But I also see you've still got the fire. You still got the fire to promote the shows. I mean, if you didn't have it, we wouldn't have come back, at the beginning of this year. I mean, it never would have happened. But you've still got that fire that says, I got to get out there and do it. Because, man, like me, you're a creative person. And for anybody listening or watching who's not a creative person, you don't understand what it's like to just come home and sit there and do nothing. It's terrible. It's awful. If you tell me tomorrow, Tom, you can't write anymore, you can't podcast, I'll be like, kill me now. Cause I love my family, and don't get me wrong here. It's not the end of the world, but up here and in my heart, I forget it. It's game over. I have to be creative. I have to do something. It's got to be something. So the time the HVW was shut down, you must have been going nuts, and to some degree, because you had nothing to create, right?
Well, when I initially shut HVW down the first time after Extravaganza, I was glad to be away.
Yeah.
It was just like, like a relief. There's no weight on the shoulders, nothing weighing over you. Of course, went through months and months and months of people talking shit on the internet about stuff they didn't know anything about, and all of that crap. But,
right.
In another way, I did continue to create. I just, I got back into the music business. Did some band stuff for a while. Did some stuff with a band called Three Nails. Got to do some really cool Christian rock stuff. It was a lot of fun. So when, of course, I'm a founding member of the Sons of the Savior Motorcycle Ministry. So, there was still, it was a different kind of creating, but there was things happening,
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, imagine if neither one of those things had happened, and it'd be like, right? I mean,
oh, yeah. I'm like you, man. I got to be involved with something.
Exactly.
I'm just that
Right.
guy. I got to have something going on in my life all the time.
Yeah, and dude, I know people. I'm friends with people who aren't like that. And listen, all the best to them. I don't know how they function. I mean, they probably look at me and say the same thing. It's like, Tom, didn't you work today? Aren't you tired? Why don't you get some rest? I'm like, no, I'm going upstairs to do a podcast. Like, I don't have time to rest. Like, this is what I love to do. Like, the stuff I do during the day is the stuff I have to do to pay the bills, right? The stuff I do in the evenings, this is the stuff I enjoy that I really, really want to do. Like, I love it, you know?
Yes, sir. Hey, read Ryan Mantis' comment he just posted.
Let's do this. Says, I've suffered bipolar disorder and ADHD my whole life. It's been detrimental in random areas for my social, personal, and work life. I've been told I'm good at certain things, but I've never felt confident in my ability or even happy about whatever I thought I maybe wanted to do. When I found wrestling, everything changed. It was mind-blowing. For the first time, I felt like I belonged. I felt happy to be there. I was motivated and eager to work harder and get better.
Right.
Which is,
you're not the first person I've ever heard say something like that, man. This business has gave a lot of people an out. Over the years, I've trained a lot of young guys. I started training guys at 14, 15 years old. I've had a couple. I'm not going to name any names, but there's been three young men that came through our program that their home life wasn't so great, and life that in general just wasn't so great for them. And they found HVW and they became a part of something. They became a part of that family, and we took them in and took care of them, man. And that's a huge part of this business. And I respect the hell out of Ryan for even coming on and saying that. But that's awesome, brother. And I can't wait till we get back up and running and get you guys out there with us.
So you made a great point just now. You talked about, basically giving someone the opportunity to excel, giving someone a home maybe they never had, a family connection maybe they're lacking. I mean, pro wrestling is a brotherhood, and don't let anyone tell you any differently. I mean, everyone, I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of people know the routine. And if you don't, maybe we'll be opening the curtain or peeling back the curtain for you. I was taught very early, when you enter a locker room, you shake the hand of everybody in the locker room. You look them in the eye and tell them who you are. And I said, okay. And I found myself, you just do it so often, you don't think twice about it, right? I found myself in other areas of my life, like in the 9-to-5 job, going to a meeting, and I did it to everyone in the room. And by the sixth guy, they're like, wow, Tom, you're very professional today. And I'm like, oh my God, I caught myself. Right?
Did you explain to him what you was doing?
I probably did. But you know what? After it happened, I'm like, why don't we do this? Isn't this professional? Isn't this the way we should be doing it? So,
hey man, I've caught myself doing it like when we go to a Suns meeting or something, and I walk in late and everybody's there, and I catch myself going around to the tables, just speaking to everybody and saying something. I do it all the time.
Yes, it just becomes habit. So let's see. Ryan follows up with lots of respect and love for you guys too, and we greatly look forward to it. There you go. So let's see. Judge chimed in, 25 plus years in the biz. I never wanted to be a promoter. He probably could have been. He probably could have done it though, don't you think? Think Judge could have handled the stress and the pressure of that crap?
I think yeah. He put up Roger.
Oh, well, that you guys saw a whole lot more than you guys were there a lot longer than I was. I never wanted to make it sound like, oh, I was there forever. I was there for a cup of coffee, basically, compared to what you guys were doing. I mean, I enjoyed my time there, but at the same time, it was all I knew. I'd never been in anyone else's locker room. Right. Now, it wasn't until after that company that I got in other people's locker room. I'm like, wow, this is different. No one's mad at each other. No one's yelling. No one's fighting. I don't feel like a chair might get thrown across the room at any second. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I'd hold him responsible because I'm not going to be that guy. But, I felt like, man, that was the Jerry Springer show what we were involved in. Not every night, but sometimes. Am I wrong?
No, it was, man. I mean, sometimes it got crazy. That's man, I can remember when, I spent Lewis, if I'm wrong, correct me. But I think I spent about 2 years with the UWA before I ever went anywhere else. And the first time I ever went to another promotion, it was completely different than what I was used to, because I had spent the first 2 years in Lenore at UWA. And man, just to see how our locker room was, we were all kind of tight and close with each other.
Mm-hmm.
When you get in, the first time I went somewhere else, I seen like division in the locker room. These guys over here talking crap about these guys over here, and talking crap about, man, I gotta drive this far to wrestle this guy, blah 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 blah. That kind of stuff, man. I wasn't used to that. It was different. So when I did start HVW, I really tried not to have that stuff in my locker room, but it's almost impossible to keep it out. I mean, it happens everywhere.
Well, we had it. We had it in UWA too. And I don't want to make it sound like we were always at odds with each other. A lot of the memories I have of that locker room, a lot of them are not good. And maybe that's a shame. Maybe I guess that is a shame for me, because a lot of it I remember is just tough. But we did have cliques in our locker room. I don't know if it was detrimental to the company, but we had EOD on one side. We were all sitting together. All the young guys sat together in their corner. The veterans kind of hung out together. Not that there was any hate thrown around because of it, but it did kind of feel like a high school environment sometimes. We're like, okay, I hang out over here and he hangs out over there and he sits over there, kind of thing. I mean,
oh yeah, man, I hated a cliquish locker room.
Yeah.
I spent many years at another Fed that was that way. And I don't know, it was sad, man. It really was.
So go ahead, brother.
No, I was trying to read what's Earl's asking us a question about tag team wrestling.
Yes. What's your guys' opinion on the tag? It's just what I was getting ready to do here. What's your opinion on the tag team scene in wrestling now? Is it a dying thing or picking up again? I think it depends on what company you're talking about, Earl, to be honest with you.
That's what I was about to
say. If you're talking about the big dog in town, those guys don't care about tag team wrestling. That's just the end of the line. That's it. Because the big boss doesn't care about it. We've heard that for 30 years. It's the absolute truth. The biggest teams that get the biggest amount of spotlight are the ones that are just thrown together who were never tag teams. And I'm like, okay, but you've got these guys that worked together for 10 years. Oh, it doesn't matter, pal. We're going to put these two stars together and they're going to go to the heights, go to the moon. I'm like, why?
Makes no sense to me either.
It makes no sense. I don't get it.
Hey, I think tag team wrestling's doing fairly decent in AEW.
I agree. Totally.
Man, the Bucks, I mean, I'm a Bucks fan, so I like those kids, man. I just wish they would come up with something different besides a super kick.
So that's a polarizing act right there. I'm glad you mentioned Nick and Matt Jackson, because I have to ask you about it. You're an old school guy like I am, but I don't think you're so old school that you can't appreciate the new style. It doesn't mean you approve of all of it, but you can appreciate it. So where's your head at on those guys? Is it too much? Is it too over the top? Is it, my God, there's been 30 finishers, take it home? I mean, where are you thinking? What are you thinking about that?
It gets a lot when there's, like when they do the 4-corner tags or 8-man tags, and it just gets, wow, you're all over like trying to figure who's doing this. It gets way too much. I like it more when it's, the Bucks versus another team. I don't know. I like their style. It gets a little far-fetched sometimes. It's
exactly
really over the top, but
right.
I don't know, man. I guess if you watch any of the, I don't know, what we call spot wrestling guys, it's all that way, right? So, I mean, I guess it all depends on what you like. Everybody, what each person individual likes.
And honestly, it seems like there used to be the classic pro wrestling style which is what we all grew up watching, and then spot wrestling became a thing. But now they're so combined, like I can't really tell a difference anymore. Like on the same show of 6 matches, 3 of those matches will be ground and pound on the mat, MMA style almost, hold for hold, move for move, catch as catch can. The other 3 matches are spot, spot, spot. And then they'll go from spot, spot, spot to back on the mat. And I'm like, you're frying my brain here, man. There's, because that's become the style now. I don't think if there's a divide, I don't see it anymore.
Well, when I broke into the business, man, and Judge, feel free to chime in. Yeah, I was taught a formula to a wrestling match. Almost there's a recipe for it. There's a certain way it should be laid out. That don't happen these days.
Yeah.
These guys are just calling spots, and the psychology of it's almost gone, man, And I'm a fan of that old school psychology wrestling. I love it. I love to be able to grab the fans, and you can listen, man. If you're the good guy, and you're getting heat worked on you, you can listen to the fans and you can hear them cheering for you. And when it don't go their way, you can hear them and you can hear them boo, and that's an adrenaline rush for me.
It's telling a story, and Lewis makes a good point here. The problem is people can't call a match on the fly.
Amen, brother. Hey, I try to teach my guys. We work on that every training session. 6-minute match on the fly. Go. We do it every training session.
I mean, to me, that it just, I don't know. It's almost like, maybe tell me if I'm wrong here. It's almost like saying, telling the best band in the world or something, we got to rehearse before you play the show. Well, they shouldn't have to. I mean, as long as the equipment's plugged in, you should be able to go out and play your show. I mean, what? I don't know. Maybe I'm off. It's or telling this singer, well, you got to warm up first. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Like, shouldn't you just be able to go do it? I don't know. Tell me if I'm off base.
No, you're exactly right, man. I mean, it's without, keeping kayfabe, so to speak.
I got you.
There's a certain way things are done, and if you're trained properly, every wrestler should know it. So, I should be able to get in my car and drive completely to the West Coast and get in the ring with somebody I've never wrestled before and call a damn match on the fly.
Absolutely.
Just because there's a certain way things are supposed to be done. And if you're trained right and put the effort in to learn the right way, you should be able to step in the ring and call a match. Try to call a match with George South. Yeah. Try to call a match with George South.
Right.
He'll make you learn the old way.
Oh, yeah. And George's basic, because I remember George saying this in the locker room, was, if I've got so long or whatever, why would I go out there and kill myself or attempt to kill anybody else when I could talk to the crowd for 5 minutes and get them riled up? And, that's, like you said, psychology. I mean, that's part of the game is getting to the crowd and making them want to watch the match to begin with, right?
Yes, sir. And it's a roller coaster, brother. It's up and down, and that's the way it should be from the very beginning. And you should be, if you're doing your job, the fans should react to the formula of your match.
Right.
You know what I mean? And guys just don't know that old school style anymore. And, there's going to be guys that say that's because the fans don't want to see it.
I disagree.
I'll disagree with that I'll disagree with that all day long. The fans do want to see it.
Yeah. I believe you condition your audience to want your product. Well, that's what I believe.
Here's all the proof I need. And I'm not going to call the name of the Fed, but there's a Fed that in our area, and they travel and all they use is the old retired legend guy wrestlers. Mm-hmm. And they selling 2,000-3,000 tickets a show. So obviously somebody's wanting to see that stuff.
Right.
Every show they do is sold out. They filling up all these little small arenas with guys that don't even really wrestle anymore. They just coming out, cutting promos, talking to the fans. Then they got guys on there wrestling, but it's crazy. The old school stuff still sells.
I wonder sometimes if I'm sure it's a combination of things, but could it possibly be because it's so much harder now to make a star than it was then? Like, or maybe it's easier. I don't know. Maybe it's back. I'm trying to get this out right. So stars were a handful, like a dime a dozen then. Like, it's hard to find like a locker room full of stars. I mean, looking back on it, yes, you could say NWA's locker room was massive, but we both have a very huge fondness for that company. I mean, we both do, I know. But look at today's locker room in any of these companies. How many bona fide Hall of Fame legends are sitting in there right now in their 20s or 30s who are on their way to championship immortality? There might be a couple. You know what I mean? But I think people hold the glory days in such high regard because of the legends that came out of that era.
Man, Tom, I don't know. It's almost like the new. I don't know how to explain it. The new age guys don't. It's not just wrestling. I know guys that can go into the ring and wrestle as good as any superstar in the world, but can't get on a microphone and speak. It's an all-around package. That's what makes a star.
Here's a young man that you're trying to teach that to right now.
Absolutely, John right there. This kid's got so much talent. If he would just slow down and listen to me.
Hey, we didn't forget about you, John. I see you, brother.
Yes, sir, brother. I'm proud of him. He's been working all through this pandemic, man. This kid's driving from Kings Mountain twice a week to work out with me.
That's a heck of a drive.
It is, and I'm proud of him. He's working hard and he's learning.
Big shout out to Chad Scott. What's up, Chad? Man, glad to see you are still doing great, my friend. He said training is style specific. Traditional Southern wrestling is a different language than lucha or strong style. I couldn't have said it better. That's a great point. Couldn't have said it better. To your point, try putting one of the guys right now, one of these local promotions in Japan, and say, now you're a young boy. You're a young boy now. You got to learn this way. Oh, yeah. It's not impossible. If you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen. But, brother, that country is much different. It's, you mentioned the word kayfabe. In that country, you better believe it. Over here, it's, I'm getting trained, and then they go home and tell everybody they know, and then it's like, who are you going to wrestle tomorrow night? The next thing you know, they're telling. You can't really stop that. In Japan, brother, pro wrestling is still treated like a sport in Japan. It makes the mainstream newspapers on the front page. It's considered a sport and is treated with respect. Man, I wish we had that here.
Yeah, it's man, I don't know. I don't know. We definitely don't get the respect that other places get. That's for sure.
You're right. And then, to Chad's point, lucha, in Mexico, it's so different. We're talking about tag team wrestling here today, folks.
Oh, yeah. The style's completely different.
They don't even tag in that country. It's not even part of their tag team matches.
And like almost every match is a 6-man match.
We had a comment asking about 6-man matches. Where'd he go? Jamie, do you guys see 6-man tag team wrestling titles coming back in any promotion? For me, it is old school and a way to get young talent exposure. I love the 6-man tag team championships. I would love to see him in HVW at some point. I think we've got the kind of talent that could hold them and support them and make them freaking fun to watch. I just automatically think about Dusty and the Road Warriors. That's where my head goes when I think about World 6-man tag team titles.
Man, when you say 6-man tag, the Fabulous Freebirds, baby.
There you go.
I am a Michael P.S. Hayes fan.
I can see that a mile away.
I love that Joker, man.
I can see that a mile away.
I was a Freebirds guy, man.
They were just so good. And three guys who shouldn't have fit. If you look at their pictures separately, you're like, okay, and then put them together, like what? But then you see them in the ring, you're like, oh my God, they're perfect together. Like
they had a chemistry that was unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, unreal. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
you think about any of the teams back then, though. I mean, the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express. I mean, good Lord, the list just goes on and on and on. Arn and Tully. Even the Mulkey brothers, man. They were a glorified bump team, but they still had chemistry together.
And
them jokers took a butt whooping in style. You know what I'm saying?
Somebody's got to make the stars look good, kids. That's the bottom line here.
And dude, tag team wrestling is chemistry.
Absolutely.
On the indie scene, man, there's a lot of great little tag teams out there. Over the years, I can name 1,000.
Yeah.
But one that really stands out to me, man, and they were different. They had their own thing, and it was, Man-Child and Jamie Lee, man, ADD.
Fun tag team.
Fun. The kids loved them. They had something, man.
Yes.
They had something. They worked on it. They constantly tried to improve their gimmick. They put work into their gear. They put work into their music. They put work into their merch. I mean, their look.
Yeah.
Even putting work in to learn. Dude, they had so many like tag team wrestling moves that they did together with Man-Child using Jamie Lee as a ramming rod.
As a weapon. Yeah.
Just all kind of stuff. And it was great, man.
It was fun calling their matches, I have to admit. We've got a talent here from the School of Morton, Franco Varga. Been there. It's very strict in the locker room, and social media is not as loose as it is here. So he's talking about Japan, I'm assuming, is what he's talking about. So Franco gave me a shout-out on the main event 200th episode. So thank you, my friend. I don't know you, but I appreciate the shout-out, man. And I'm going to look up your stuff. I haven't done it yet, but I intend to. So best of luck to you at Ricky's school, man. Thanks for watching, by the way.
Yes, sir. Thanks for watching.
I've been told they've got some great talents coming out of that school.
Dude, we're gonna have to take a trip one Sunday and just ride down with Chuck or ride up with Chuck and check it out.
Yeah, sounds good to me. So we got John Matthews saying, I'm ready to get back to regularly scheduled shows. Brother, from your lips to the ears of God, my friend. So we'll see.
Yes,
Jamie
sir.
says wrestling in Japan is like football in Texas. Jamie, brother, that's freaking perfect. That is pitch perfect. I can't say any better. That's great. What a great comparison that is. That's really good stuff. So tell me the first, what you would consider famous tag team that you actually met in the locker room, in a locker room. And were you so starstruck? How starstruck were you, I guess I should say? Was it Ricky and Robert?
Our tag team?
Yeah.
Man. No, I think the very first.
Because for me, it was Ricky and Robert. I don't know.
I want to say it was the Midnight Express.
Really? Wow.
Because I brought them into HVW.
Oh, cool.
It was but I had Bobby and Dennis. And it was really, really cool, man.
Awesome.
But I think I'd met some bigger tag teams before then, though.
Did you meet Hawk and Animal? Did you ever get a chance to meet them?
Nope. Never did, man.
Yeah, I regret that myself. I wish I had. So we've kind of touched on this.
It's been so long. It's been so long. It's hard for me to remember all the people we've met over the years.
I hear you. We kind of touched on this already, but I don't know that we've either one gave a clear definition. Why, in your opinion, is tag team wrestling important?
Man, go watch an 8-match card with 8 singles matches.
Good point.
I think there's a place for triple threat matches. I do. I think that's triple threat wrestling is its own style, and a style in its own. And there's some guys that really understand how to do it and can do it really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a tag team, it gives you for me, it's a little more exciting. You got four guys out in the ring. All kinds of stuff could go crazy. It gets wild. You get four guys flying around instead of two. I don't know. I just think tag team wrestling's important.
I think it's important for all the reasons you said. Plus, I think it allows you to find new stars, and the opportunity for one of those two guys to become a huge name is always there. And even if that doesn't materialize, the possibility of creating a brand, creating a team that could possibly sell more tickets to your next show. I mean, that's, just I go back to Ricky and Robert, but my God, how can you not? I mean, one of the greatest of all time, maybe the greatest of all time. All they had to do was show up. They were so pretty. And
that's all they had to do was show up.
Go back and listen to those old matches, and it's primarily girls screaming their heads off. And the funny thing about Ricky and Robert was, you say, well, the girls love them, but look at them. But the guys love them too, because Ricky and Robert stood up to the Russians and didn't back down. And
yes, sir.
I mean, every dude in that arena was like, okay, maybe they're not so bad after all. These guys are pretty tough. Next thing you know, they're cheering for them too. So, good looks will only get you so far, the pro wrestling audience. You got to prove it. You got to prove it to the men as well. And buddy, they did.
Yeah, man, those jokers had charisma like nobody else had back in that day. It's when Ricky come out to the ring, giving his and Robert's back there, skipping along, clapping. The women's going crazy, the grandmas is going crazy, the little girls is going crazy, and Daddy's getting excited because he knows he's going to have some fun when he gets home. The Rock and Roll Express done warmed them up.
That's right. Do you remember seeing them in the cage? I want to say it's Ivan and Crusher, but it might have been Ivan and Nikita. I think it was Ivan and Nikita. It's for the tag team titles in a cage. And Ricky and Robert got beat to death.
When Ricky's hair was red instead of black.
But they ended up winning the belts. They got the pin. And as a kid, I'm watching that thinking, they're dead. They're both dead. This is over. They're going to get killed. Oh, my God. And then they won. I'm like, oh, my God. I lost my mind. Like, that's a star-making moment right there, man.
Hey, man, and we don't get many of those on our level anymore.
It's true.
I mean, dude, you think about it. Back then, what promotion was that?
That was NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions.
Yeah, but back in that day, they were nothing much more than a big indie promotion.
Well, that's true. That's true. They were regional, right?
Right. They weren't as big as WWF back then, or WWF, whatever it was. They weren't going around to the big arenas that they were in. They were doing smaller arenas like the Greensboro Coliseum and the Asheville Civic Center and the Charlotte Coliseum. They weren't doing the big mega arenas like WWF was.
Right.
So, and they didn't have no big fancy stage or nothing. Dude, I remember watching wrestling like where there wasn't even really nothing but a spotlight on the guy. And he's walking way out from the locker room through the crowd, and the cops walking with him, and he has to step over the safety barrier to get into the ring.
Absolutely.
Nothing fancy.
Yeah, and hope they don't get stabbed on the way to the ring, because fans were really into it back then. So,
dude, well, yeah, and here's the point I'm trying to make. What sold the tickets? It wasn't the big fancy stage or the music. It wasn't the pyro. It wasn't the beautiful women. It was guys that Jim Crockett Promotion turned into freaking superstars.
It's true.
And think about it, man. Think about the way they looked, back in the day. With the exception of Nikita Koloff, the warlord, the barbarian. I mean, there was a few big muscled up guys, but everybody wasn't like that. I mean, Dusty Rhodes, one of the biggest superstars in the wrestling business, and look at his body.
Yep.
It what back then it wasn't about what you look like. It was about, if you do there again, John Matthews, you listening? If you can talk, you don't have to have the greatest skills. And I'm gonna tell you, I mean, that's what got Dusty where he was at. Dusty could wrestle. I mean, he could put on a show, but he was limited at what he done.
I mean, it's about heart. It's about heart.
Exactly. I mean, but Dusty became a superstar because of his gift of gab, not because of what he was doing inside the ropes. He could sell what he was doing inside the ropes on that microphone.
So we've got some comments here. Let's see. Judge mentions Arn and Tully, another great example of an old school tag team. Fantastic. Jamie mentions tag team is more of a story and can captivate the audience. I think you have more time to tell the story, and you got 4 people to tell that story between, as opposed to just the 2, like Gary said. So
absolutely,
that does open the doors. We've got Julie Hester saying hello.
Tom, you have not got to meet her son yet.
No, I haven't.
He's a young man that John Matthews been bringing up from Kings Mountain with him. He's been wrestling a little bit, calls himself Kid Cutter. He's a young kid, man. He's got a lot of skills. He had developed some bad habits that I got to get him out of, but he's doing great. I can't wait to get him on the show.
Awesome. Yeah, well, and if you're just now tuning in, hi, this is Tom and Garrett, HVW official High Velocity Wrestling Podcast. And yes, we're talking about tag team wrestling. And as Gary just alluded to, we are also talking about our company. We have a target date in mind of January 30th, 2021 to bring the company back. This will be the next edition of Resurrected. Fingers crossed, we're waiting with bated breath to see if we can do this. And if we do it, we will be as physically responsible as we can be. As we know, the pandemic's not going away anytime soon. I wish it was, but we will be sure that everyone is safe, including our talent, our crew, and our fans. So I assure you, as we get more details as time goes on, we will pass those along to you in case you were wondering. So there you go. Yeah, you mentioned this kid to me before, man. I'm anxious to see him, but there again, I'm anxious to see us, to see all the talents that are currently in our locker room and the ones that you're bringing on board as well. Judge makes a good point here. It's about how many butts you put in the seats.
Amen, brother.
It's a good point. Yeah, because I mean, if you're not selling tickets, you're not doing it right. I mean, it's we've seen wrestling companies filled with chiseled abs and baby oiled muscles, and they go belly up. They can't draw a dime. So to Gary's point, no. Is it nice to have? Sure. Should you? All right, if you're a wrestler and you're listening or watching this right now, should you be taking care of your body? Yeah, you should, because if you don't have cardio, you're going to get killed out there. Let's call it for what it is. Does it mean you have to look like Arnold? Not necessarily, but you got to have heart, and you got to want this more than the guy next to you, which means you got to be willing to go out there and put on a show, like you said, and to really put all of yourself. And by the way, it's about self-investment, right? You can't just go into this thing half-hard. You have to be willing to go head first, do whatever's asked of you, and get it done.
Absolutely, man. And you know, it's one of my biggest things, Tom, and it's been an issue for years. Don't forget where you came from.
Right.
I've accomplished a little bit in this business. I've done some things. I've been on the big show a couple times. I've got to do some stuff. And I never deny the fact that I started training at the UWA in Lenoir, North Carolina, with a guy named a Judge. I don't make up a name that so-and-so trained me. It is what it is. Ain't no making it up or lying about it is not going to get you anywhere different. But it's ridiculous that, the guys that spend so much time with one person and then they make it or they go to that next level a little bit bigger. And, you see interviews from them and you never, it's not about the recognition. It's about the appreciation.
Right. I get where you're coming from.
What I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate Judge taking time out of his Saturdays and coming working with a guy breaking into the business. He didn't have to get there that early every Saturday. He spent his whole day there just to work out with me. I appreciate that. And I remember that. And it's just ridiculous, man, that these cats, they just forget where they come from.
And that I think that's two parts. One part is that's the kind of guy he is, that he's willing to put in the effort for you. But the other part is you wanted it bad enough and you showed up and you said, this is what I want to do. And if you can help me out, I'd appreciate it. I mean, that was it. There's got to be give and take on both sides. And to your point, man, it does mean a lot to the veterans later. And you're right. It's not about recognition. It's about appreciation.
Exactly right.
Knowing where you came from. So let's segue a little bit back to the company now. So we haven't mentioned, there's a lot of teams we didn't talk about, obviously. This is not a deep dive here, folks. We mentioned Hawk and Animal, in my opinion, pound for pound, greatest tag team of all time. And I love Ricky and Robert, don't get me wrong. But people ask me, who's the best tag team of all time? And I say Hawk and Animal because they made the most money. And I know how that sounds, but they made the most money because they were in demand, because they could get the job done and they could sell tickets.
And dude, they were in every little promotion around at the time too. They were everywhere.
Yep.
So
regional promotions, worldwide promotions, everybody booked them. Everybody. I can't get my light to work out to save my life.
It's the Road Warriors, man. I'll never forget what was Chi-Town Heat when they did the scaffold match with the Rock and Roll Express.
Oh, man.
No, the Midnight Express.
Midnight Express.
Midnight Express, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'll never forget Cornette dropping from that scaffold.
Blew out both of his knees.
Both knees at the same time.
Yeah. Had to have surgery. Bubba was supposed to catch him.
Yeah. Ray Traylor, the big boss man.
He was so good. Ray's so underrated. He never got enough credit.
No, man, to watch that big old man bounce off the middle rope the way Rey Mysterio does, that was
right? Awesome. Yeah. And he could do anything you wanted him to do, anything you needed him to do, he could do it. He never complained. And
you're right, never got the recognition he deserved.
Nah, gone way too soon, as a lot of them were and are, unfortunately. So, so we haven't talked about everybody. We didn't talk about the Von Erichs. We mentioned the Freebirds, but not the Von Erichs. So there's something to be said there. The Fantastics, right?
Oh, yes.
Tommy Rogers and Bobby Fulton, man.
Yeah. Hey, dude, I'll tell you a quick little story. Just a few years back, less than 10 years ago, what's the blonde-headed guys from the Fantastics?
That's Bobby Fulton.
Yeah, dude, he's promoting tough man contest, and he done one here at the Hendersonville National Guard Armory.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's good stuff, man. I think Tommy's passed away, hasn't he? Haven't they both passed away? Has Bobby Fulton passed away now?
I don't know.
I could be wrong. Julie says, "Keep doing what you're doing for these kids, Gary. I appreciate you."
That's Cutter's mom.
There you go.
That's Cutter's mom. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it. I don't know how to type in a comment, so I would respond if I could.
It's all good. We're giving them some shout outs here.
Yes, sir.
Zach Hester saying hello.
That's Cutter.
Is that him?
I think so.
Yeah, same last name.
Yeah, that's Cutter.
Cool.
What's up, buddy? You ready for training this week?
Judge says you got to promote yourself, and you got to promote your company, and you got to promote the business. Yeah. And honestly, dude, if you're doing one, you're doing the other, right? Unless you're just about yourself and don't care about anybody else. I guess you could be that guy if you wanted to, but if you're selling tickets for a company, you're smart to put that company over. I mean, it only makes sense, right? You won't draw the kind of crowds that you want to see or perform in front of if you're not doing your part to get fans into the building. So I think it all works hand in hand.
Brother, I've been you preaching to the choir right here. I've been screaming that the whole time I've owned HVW. But you know how many times I've been told it's not my job to promote your company?
Okay, I mean,
all right. You want to get paid off the ticket sales. You want to get paid off, the bigger the crowd, the more money you make, right? All right, help me make that crowd bigger then.
yeah, I mean, all right, so put yourself in the talent's shoes, not being a promoter. I mean, do you see that argument, or are you just like, eh?
Dude, I mean, if I was booked on a show, I mean, I'm talking as a wrestler, not a promoter.
Right.
If I know I'm driving to Tennessee on Saturday night to wrestle, and it's Monday, and I see the promoter putting his poster online promoting his show, damn right I'm going to share it and tell people about it, because I want to wrestle in front of a crowd. I don't want to drive to Tennessee to wrestle in front of 20 people.
Right. Good
You know
point.
what I'm saying? Of course, right. Man. We want people there to see us. Is that not the point, to try to wrestle in front of a big crowd?
It makes sense to me. 100%.
If you can make everybody understand that, how hard is it, dude? How hard is it? It amazes me. I can have a poster with 5 guys' face on it and 25 guys on the roster, and 25 that's not on the poster will share the hell out of it, but the 5 that's on the poster won't share it for shit.
I mean, is
the devil out of me.
Is that a sign of, well, I'm on the poster, I don't need to? Is it that mentality, or is it just it's just another show for me? It's another poster. I mean, what do you think that is?
Brother, I have no idea. I've been trying to figure that out for years. Yeah. I do not know.
Well, we've never really had this issue with tag teams in our company, that's for sure, because all the teams in our company seem to understand what it is to help put the brand over, and it puts them over as well. I mean, we've got, in my estimation, one of the best tag team divisions that I've seen in a while.
I agree.
And I would say that many fans – oh, for sure. I would say that many fans point to 2 teams in particular standing out in the company. That's the New Age Villains in 1776. I mean, these 2 teams have a natural disdain and hate for each other. It's deep-rooted. I mean, let me tell you something. There's the idea of, they're all friends in the back. These 2 teams have nothing but contempt for each other. We have physically been in the locker room and had to separate these 2 teams. I mean, long before their match happens. That's why we tell one team to get there at a certain time, the other team to get there at the other time, because we can't have them in the same room together. I mean, it's a volatile situation, man.
Tom, even me, I thought they're working us. I thought they had gotten together and was like, we're going to work Viper, we're going to work Tom, blah, blah, blah. Nah, brother, that's legit heat. They don't like each other.
No, they don't.
But you know what, man? That's why their matches look the way they look in the ring too. It's believable.
Absolutely. It's intense. It can be violent. But at the same time, there's a lot of pride going into that for both teams. And, Nathan Cross and Ryan Raleigh may not be making friends with anybody, especially because of their manager. But at the same time, they want to be the best. I have to applaud them for that. I question the company they keep, because I think they're fantastic on their own. But it's they want to be the best, just like 1776 want to be the best, man. I think that's a good thing for the company for sure.
Hey, brother, yeah. And, just wait till the new year comes. We about to crown new tag champs. We're about to crown new ladies champ. We got some stuff happening, Tom. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Tag team wrestling will be a huge part of HVW.
Yeah, you guys won't have to worry about what our opinion is on tag team wrestling. You and I, Gary and I both are huge fans of tag team wrestling. We grew up watching it. I think it's important. I think to your point, it breaks up the monotony of a card, but also it's got so much potential to tell so many different kinds of stories in one match. I mean, in one match with four guys, you could have potentially two singles matches out of that, or you could throw in two guys on either side, make it a 6-man, or two more, make it an
Oh yeah,
8-man
there's
tag
so
team.
much you can do with it, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, you could take a good tag feud and drag it out for 2-3 months if need be.
Oh, look at how long the Midnights and the Rock and Rolls wrestled each other. I mean,
Years and years.
unbelievable. I mean, Edge and Christian and the Dudleys. I mean, and the Hardys. How long did that? I mean, that was two straight years.
I can't believe we've sat here and talked about tag team wrestling and didn't mention the Dudleys yet, or the Briscoes.
That's true.
You know that's my boys. You know that's my boys, the Briscoes.
Yes.
We've got to get them to HVW.
I think they'd be a perfect fit in the company.
Absolutely.
And I've had fans watching the main event who've asked me about it on instant message. And they've all said the same thing, man. These guys would be perfect for you. And I said, yeah, that's what we've been saying. And you know what? Here's what I'll say about Jay and Mark. The fact that they've been loyal to Ring of Honor and and they signed a new contract. I think it was last year, this year. They're not going anywhere. They're committed. And my hat's off to them for their loyalty. However, I'm reminded of something that Mick Foley said years ago when he visited Ring of Honor. They had him in for something. And he came in either before or after the Samoa Joe and CM Punk match. And he mentioned how he would love to see Samoa Joe and CM Punk in WWE one day. Well, the crowd booed relentlessly because it was Ring of Honor. And Foley's like, hold on before you boo me anymore. He said, what I mean by that is I think it's a crime that the entire world can't see how good these two men are. And then the crowd applauded that. And I'm like, that's how I feel about the Briscoes. Right. I mean, I think it's a shame that the mainstream WWE audience don't know anything about these guys. And dude, I've talked to fans over the years that said, Tom, they couldn't work for Vince. They're vulgar, their language and I'm like, you mean to tell me that if you told Jay and Mark, here's your WWE contract, you got a year, go out there and kill it. You mean to tell me if they were told, I bet you can't get over without cursing. You don't think they take that as a challenge? I don't think they need to say one curse word to get over. I don't think they need to.
I don't think they'd have to speak because they're not that great on the mic anyway.
Well, I'm sorry. I love Jay on the mic. I can't help it.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think they're that great on the mic, but, it's I don't know. I just like their style. I like their in-ring work. I just like what they do.
Yeah, they're just great. I think that team or any other team in this company or in this business would take that as a challenge and say, watch me go out there and get over in spite of what you think. But yeah, we've definitely got to get them in HVW. A couple more comments before we take it home tonight, kids. Gary says wrestled
Chaos.
Oh yeah, okay, there you go. I've seen that name, but I've not seen this name. There you go. Said I wrestled for you for years, miss you. There you go. All right, folks, we've gone a little over an hour tonight. So the goal for Gary and myself is to do this once a week. Now, we are going into the busiest time of year. And, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the New Year's. And we know that's a big deal. So there may be weeks we can't do this, but we are sure going to try to do this. We want to, as we said last week, open up the lines of communication to our fan base again and get that flow back and forth, build the brand, rebuild it, as it were, bring it back from having stood still for all these months. So that's the goal. And plus, it doesn't hurt that Gary and I are both still fans and we still watch and we still appreciate the business and the industry. And yeah, what are you thinking so far, man?
Hey man, I'm enjoying just talking wrestling, so I can't wait to the next episode. I'm just seeing everybody's comments. I appreciate you guys. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the future.
Zach says, I can't wait to finally make my debut.
We're going to get you there, little man. You just keep coming to training.
Judge, thanks as always, man. Judge is becoming a fixture on this little show.
Yes,
We're going to have to.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate you, dude. All right, folks. I think that's going to be it for us. I believe we're going to call it a night. We want to wish everybody out there a happy evening. You guys stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. And as always, we always say the same thing. Please stay tuned because there's a lot more HVW to come. Please keep tabs on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we will update you as often as we possibly can. Shameless plug time. Check out Tom Clark's Main Event and Tom Clark's 6M podcast. That's how I roll. So there you go. All right, folks, that's all we got. For Gary Benfield, I'm Tom Clark. Thanks very much for checking us out, the official HVW podcast. That's it for us, kids. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Everybody have a good one.